Part 130. The House of Everything I Created. Author, Yinian Luan Tianji. Chapter 1291. Facing Li Taidu, who was escaping with his life, Lin Yi was slightly shocked. Read. Is this a bit like the soul leaving the body and abandoning the body? Won't you die immediately? At this time, Li Xuankong's expression changed drastically. He did not expect that his brother would lose his body as soon as he met him. Without any hesitation, he directly raised his hand and waved. The mysterious black bell above his head rang wildly, and one after another the soul-twisting true power fell on Lin Yi. But this power is blocked by true life and perseverance. At this time, a strange box appeared in Li Xuankong's hand. He raised his hand and waved, and the box opened immediately, revealing a physical body. Li Taidu's true life light rushed into it in a flash, and the next moment, the body climbed up from the ground. Li Taidu actually came back to life, and everything happened smoothly. Obviously they had been prepared for this kind of thing. Lin Yi was also slightly surprised. Your preparations are really thoughtful and interesting. At this moment, Li Taidu and Li Xiankong turned around and ran away. Lin Yi was stunned for a moment. Why are they running so fast? At this moment, the voice of the final order system came to Lin Yi's mind. Warning, there is a mysterious unknown existence coming, and the target is the half-destroyed corpse. Lin Yi looked at the half-petrified body in front of him, and the corners of his mouth twitched slightly. Is this okay? That guy obviously didn't really die, so the body he left behind will also attract mysterious beings. Questions flashed through my mind. Is this a bug? Although there were countless questions in his mind, he left here in a flash. Less than 5 seconds after he left, the almost petrified body suddenly changed. The petrified part of the corpse quickly returned to its original state and transformed into the new Li Taidu. He opened his eyes and looked around, with a trace of doubt in his eyes, which finally landed on his own body. Is this a clone? I was actually deceived. Damn, I wasted a spot. Ah, don't let me find you, otherwise I will make you worse than death. The possessed person seems to be very angry. There is no real life or consciousness in this body, and a pure empty shell is of no use to him. The next moment, Li Taidu's body suddenly stiffened, then shattered, and turned into countless gravels piled on the ground. The mysterious existence had left, but at this moment, Lin Yi's figure appeared here silently. It turned out that he did not go far, but was hiding in the rock wall, observing here through the true life path interpretation. He also wanted to know what a body without true life and consciousness could be used for. Quota. Copy. Useless. He heard what the mysterious existence said just now and intercepted some information. In other words, what these mysterious descending beings need is a truly dead body, containing true life consciousness and so on. There's nothing left but an empty shell of a body that means nothing to them. Managers chosen by the crowns. Looking from all directions, the corpse that holds the true power of life seems to be of special use to them. After shaking his head slightly, Lin Yi turned around and left. He held the map token given to him by Linglinger in his hand, and soon he locked his target, the passage to an eternal battlefield. There were about 3 caves and dozens of kilometers away from where he was. After spending an hour, he came to a huge cave. He was just about to go in when suddenly there was a movement behind him. In a flash, he disappeared into the rock wall, and his eyes immediately saw the passage from which he came, and a group of serious-looking humans walked in. The number of these humans reached hundreds, and each one carried a spiritual pattern weapon. After a little observation, Lin Yi discovered their problem. Everyone holds at least 3 different spiritual weapons, and also has more than 2 true lives. Judging from their posture, they seem to be a group of people. Who are these people? What do they want to do? Lin Yi's heart aroused great curiosity. Is it going to the eternal battlefield to participate in the battle? Thinking of this, Lin Yi's eyes lit up, he secretly observed them and followed behind them quietly. Soon they arrived at the cave in front. The cave is huge, at least dozens of kilometers long. After this group of people arrived, one of them lined up and waved his hand, and some metallic objects appeared. These items are thin slices that quickly form a huge pattern on the ground. This was obviously a teleportation device. Seeing this device, Lin Yi, who was hiding underground, showed a hint of surprise on his face. Teleportation array? Where are they going? Just listen to the leader's solemn voice saying. Everyone, the ruins we want to explore this time are ancient and unimaginable places, filled with countless dangers. It is very likely that the secrets of this world are hidden inside. I hope everyone can work together and come back alive. Everyone looked silent and nodded heavily. Immediately afterwards, they all walked in, a burst of true power was injected, and infinite light enveloped the entire teleportation array. At the same time, the voice of the final order system sounded in Lin Yi's mind. Attention, helpers! We have discovered the arrival of an unknown existence and the fluctuation of the death boundary. The teleportation array will be teleported to an unknown place. Now we will issue a task, follow these people to find the truth. The task is successful and you will get new items. Lin Yi frowned when he heard this. He didn't care about the rewards of the system. In fact, most of the rewards of the system are based on the information collected, and are made by using the power of the True Destiny source and the True Destiny solution. Only this information can be made by himself. It's just that the system seems to be able to use the collected information quickly, which he can't do. However, considering that there is an unknown existence coming now, he still chose to follow. The True Destiny source, the True Destiny Boundless, and the True Destiny Perseverance were activated at the same time. The next moment, he turned into a grain of dust and fell into the teleportation array. Following a brilliant light, he disappeared here. At the moment they left, the teleportation array device on the ground was directly shattered and turned into countless ashes. This cave was also full of coffins. At this time, these coffins opened with a bang, and at least 3 figures stood up from them. The eyes of these figures flashed with the light of true destiny, scanning back and forth in this area, as if searching for something. After a long while, they gathered together with gloomy faces. Something seems to be happening here. Strange fluctuations, that's not the fluctuations here, is there any other crowns interfering? The House of Everything I Created. Author, Yinian Luan Tianji. Chapter 1292. Reported, someone more senior will handle it. Read. The 3 bodies flashed, returned to their respective coffins, and lay directly in. The whole cave quickly became silent. After a hazy distortion, Lin Yi found himself in a strange place. I hope readers will remember our domain name Taiwan Novel Network rightward arrow. They appeared in a dark place, a world without any light. There is only infinite coldness here, and everyone who came here supported the power of true destiny at the first time. Their true destiny power all comes from the spirit pattern device, all of which are protective true destiny power. Immediately afterwards, Lin Yi saw an extremely magical scene. Hundreds of mysterious people, they emerged with one after another spirit pattern device brilliance. Basically, each person holds about 6, and Lin Yi was surprised to find that the true destiny power emitted by these spirit pattern devices is a system that cooperates with each other. A black handkerchief appeared in the hands of the leader. He raised his hand and threw it. The handkerchief quickly rose into the air and enlarged. An invisible black slowly fell down, covering everyone. The light of the spiritual pattern instrument also disappeared in an instant. Just as the light disappeared, a strange figure appeared not far away. It was a shadow-like thing, it just stood there quietly. All the people covered by the dark handkerchief looked at it solemnly. The 6 true life lights surrounded them and flowed with each other, forming a strange state. Lin Yi used the light of the true life solution to observe these people carefully, and he immediately noticed their secret. All the true life lights constitute a unique combat system. Attack, defense, amplification, treatment, movement, and other 6 different spiritual pattern instruments and true life properties. The most peculiar thing is that these spiritual pattern instruments themselves are also continuously generating true power, and there is also a storage of true power inside. However, in terms of quantity, it is much less than the true power generated by their own true life. The true power of oneself is more used to activate these spiritual pattern tools and let them release power. Seeing this scene, Lin Yi's heart moved slightly. This is really magical. Spiritual pattern tools can actually generate true power like true destiny. But why the sword and invisibility card I got from Lin Linza don't seem to work? He keenly noticed the difference between the 2 spiritual pattern tools. After careful observation, his heart suddenly moved. He found a difference in the problem, that is, the spiritual pattern itself. The 2 spiritual pattern tools obtained from Lin Lindsay have very illusory spiritual patterns on them, which are condensed from various materials, essences, and a kind of true power. And the spiritual pattern tools in the hands of these people have spiritual patterns on them, which are like real objects. They are materialized eternal properties, and there are broken consciousness in them. He immediately realized what this was. This is a spiritual pattern tool made by breaking the true destiny and extracting the eternal properties in it. Instantly he thought of a lot and saw the blood behind these people. In order to make these spiritual pattern instruments, they probably killed a lot of true lives, and even had a way to destroy their true lives and extract useful things. Seeing what was behind this, Lin Yi naturally hid better and did not move. And the people covered by the light curtain of the handkerchief were also waiting quietly, as if waiting for the black shadow to retreat. Time passed for a long time, and the black shadow outside slowly disappeared in the darkness, as if it had never appeared. The people covered by the black handkerchief slowly breathed a sigh of relief at this time. The leader of this group of people was a man in a white robe, with a white face and no beard, a pair of phoenix eyes, and a long hair. The whole person was filled with a chic breath. Lin Yi turned into a speck of dust and carefully observed the people around him. His eyes fell on the leader. This man was clearly visible in his eyes. There were 4 true lives in his body, and the weakest true life was also composed of 81 eternal properties. He also carried 6 integrated spiritual pattern instruments on his body, and a trace of killing flashed between his eyebrows. Everyone, pay attention. The next step is exploration. Each of you will explore the ruins from different directions. Divide into 30 teams, with 15 teams in a wave, and rotate every 24 hours. During the exploration, you must not fight each other, and you must explore carefully. Are there any questions? He looked at the people behind him. Everyone shook their heads firmly, no. Okay, let's go. A few minutes later, the first wave of teams going out to explore were ready to go. There were about 100 people who came here, and they were divided into 30 teams. Almost every team had a person who had the true ability to hide traces. The 15 teams were each shrouded in this concealment ability and quietly left the power coverage of the black handkerchief. Then disappeared into the darkness ahead. In Lin Yi's eyes, he could clearly see what was in the darkness ahead. A huge piece of ruins, a half-collapsed palace, and some strange figures. This seems to be a huge city, but after so much time, only ruins are left. Lin Yi quietly hid himself, collecting information bit by bit. 24 hours passed in a blink of an eye. Under the cover of the black handkerchief, everyone was quietly resting, waiting for their turn. Suddenly, subtle waves appeared silently outside the range of the handkerchief wave. The leader pointed to the black handkerchief in the sky, and hazy waves swept outward from the handkerchief, covering an area in front. Then, teams of figures were swept into the range of the handkerchief in this wave. Looking at the people who appeared, the people who stayed behind all had gloomy faces. Looking carefully, there were 15 teams when they went, and only 12 teams when they returned. 1/5 of the casualties are quite shocking. Lin Yi was slightly surprised when he saw this scene. This mortality rate is not low. And the people who came back also took out a lot of strange things. They were all some tools, but Lin Yi saw spiritual texts on these tools. A thought occurred to him, hey, what is this? Could it be that the source of the spiritual pattern weapon that is circulated outside was excavated from here? That is to say, there may be a more advanced method of using the spiritual pattern weapon here. After thinking about it, Lin Yi planned to follow them out to see what they were doing and where this place was. At this time, the second wave of teams had also left, and Lin Yi turned into a speck of dust and sank into the ground. Then, the power of the true source of life flashed, and he turned back into his original appearance. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The House of Everything I Created. Author, Yinian Luan Tianji. Chapter 1293. With a flash of his figure, Lin Yi had already caught up with the people who disappeared, and quickly went to the ruins in front of him, but he had been hiding underground and did not surface. Reading. Soon he came to the underground of the ruins, looked up at the direction above his head, and all the buildings were built with black materials. The overall style is a bit weird, and all kinds of strange patterns can always be seen on the walls of these buildings. It seems to be some stories, and a strong sense of history comes to the face. Lin Yi took a deep breath. Where is this place? Just as questions flashed in his mind, a strange black shadow underground seemed to be aware of his presence. It appeared behind him like a ghost, and was slowly approaching his location. I hope readers will remember our domain name Taiwan Novel Network rightward arrow dot. At this time, Lin Yi did not notice the shadow behind him. Lin Yi shook his head slightly, looked around, and suddenly his pupils shrank. A shadow appeared less than 5 meters behind him, approaching him and passing through the thick soil. It was also an invisible existence. Lin Yi frowned slightly and appeared on the ground in a flash. After a few flashes, he passed through the wall and went deeper into the ruins. He appeared in a corridor in the ruins and looked down at the ground and the surroundings. The mysterious shadow that was originally tracking him had disappeared. It seemed that as long as he appeared in the ruins, these shadows would not chase him. Won't it leave the soil? But the exploration team seems to have consumed some energy, which means that there are other unknown dangers in the ruins. Lin Yi's speed slowed down a lot, and more power was put on the True Destiny solution. He always paid attention to the front, back, left and right, trying to find possible dangers. In the process of moving forward, he found that the entire ruin seemed to be covered in a huge spiritual pattern. A large number of spiritual patterns seemed to form a huge formation-like structure. If it was originally intact, this ruin should be a huge fortress or weapon. But now, this relic has been destroyed for who knows how many eras. Lin Yi was slightly silent. Such a huge spiritual pattern system, the power of True Destiny created is probably extremely powerful. But this power can actually be destroyed. It's incredible. Lin Yi fell into deep thought. He felt a trace of instinctive fear from the heart for the existence that could destroy the civilization. Since this civilization can be destroyed, does it mean that although they have a spiritual pattern system and have developed a variety of powerful weapons, they have not achieved absolute immortality? Not even as good as my 7 True Destiny systems. Lin Yi thought and came to a hall along the passage in front of him. At this time, the dome of this hall had long disappeared, and there was only a huge statue in the hall, but the head of the statue had also disappeared. The columns fell to the ground one by one, and the whole hall was dead silent. Looking across the hall, you can see a large number of murals on the walls of the hall. Lin Yi carefully looked at these pictures, and something flashed in his eyes. Murals like this usually record information. Unfortunately, most of these pictures only have less than half left, or even one-third or less. There are almost no intact scrolls. After all, the entire dome and most of the walls have disappeared. At this time, his eyes fell on the largest remaining scroll. The content in the picture is a half-body, standing among countless corpses, and the body seems to emit a mysterious glow, connecting to the corpses under its feet. And there seem to be one or several seeds in the bodies of those corpses. These seeds are the true life. However, Lin Yi can see that in the artistic conception of this painting, although the mysterious glow is connected to these true lives, it is not going to devour them. His eyes looked at the remaining half of the second picture. There were coffins appearing out of thin air, and corpses were being put in. An endless stretch of coffins began to appear on the ground, all filled with dead bodies. Strangely, you can still see strands of silk connecting those corpses. In the third picture, in a huge palace, figures with various expressions gathered here. They seem to be doing various kinds of work, like a precision gear machine, preparing something. Lin Yi noticed their faces, each of them was full of tension, as if they were preparing for an unimaginable disaster. There were a total of 6 pictures in the whole palace. The 3 pictures on the left were slightly clear, and basically more than half of them were left. And the 3 pictures on the right wall were less than one-third left. In the 4th picture, countless coffins were slowly opened. In the 5th picture, only countless lower bodies could be seen. Through careful analysis, Lin Yi could judge that the pictures of these legs should all be running out, as if avoiding something terrible. And in the 6th picture, countless corpses were lying on the ground, and mysterious rays of light connected them. From these pictures, the only thing Lin Yi could judge was: a large number of corpses were once put into coffins, and then resurrected, and then seemed to be doing various kinds of work, and faced with unknown dangers, they were all killed. There was an unknown thing connecting them, and everything looked so weird. Lin Yi's eyes swept across the murals and finally fell on the statue in the middle. The statue was wearing a white robe, and his hands and feet could not be seen. They were all covered by the robe, and a pure feeling came over him. He felt something inexplicable in this statue. Thinking about it, Lin Yi walked over a few steps, gently stretched out his hand, and touched the statue. At this moment, the voice of the final order system in his mind sounded coldly. "Binder, please pay attention, you have come into contact with unknown mysterious information. Your will is about to enter the unknown level under the guidance of this information. Task: accept the guidance to collect information." Task completed. Once the task is completed, this system will get more information about the death boundary. Lin Yi frowned slightly when he heard the words of the final order system. He could feel a mysterious force pulling his consciousness, as if he wanted to go somewhere. He thought about it, and let go of his resistance, quietly feeling the guidance. The next moment, a wonderful mysterious force flowed out from the statue and enveloped Lin Yi. The next moment, Lin Yi suddenly disappeared in the palace, and his whereabouts were unknown. The House of Everything I Created. Author, Yinian Luan Tianji. Chapter 1294. Outside the palace, a mysterious black shadow appeared here, with cold eyes sweeping around, as if looking for something, but it found nothing. At this time, Lin Yi felt an inexplicable distortion, and then everything in front of him changed dramatically. A great city appeared in front of him, and he was in the center of the city, on a huge tower. A piece of information appeared in his mind. Tria list, your current identity is the Lord of the Immortal Fortress. A disaster is coming, which will lead to the fall of the Immortal Fortress and countless members of the Fire Seed. If you can save the fortress, you will pass the trial and get the highest achievement of the Fire Seed organization, the title of Savior. The title of Savior is constructed by the spirit pattern system and can be activated once every 24 hours. Its effect is to infinitely enhance the power of the true fate. If you fail to save the immortal fortress, you will die here. Hearing this, Lin Yi's face turned pale, and he felt as if he had stepped into a big pit. At this moment, the information in his mind kept appearing, making him realize what situation he was in now. This great city is called the Immortal Fortress. It is composed of countless spiritual patterns, a super large war weapon, and also the last base of the fire seeds. Fire seeds refer to the people living in this immortal fortress. They are all people who have resurrected from death, but in this immortal fortress, they can rely on the huge power of the fortress's true destiny system to isolate them from the control of unknown existences, thereby gaining a brief freedom. The Fire Seed organization once had 9 immortal fortresses, which launched a war against the entire Death Border, and even won a victory at one point, rescuing a large number of bound resurrected people. But then there was a problem. 8 fortresses were successively breached by the dead for unknown reasons and eventually disappeared in the Death Border. Now the 9th immortal fortress is about to be attacked by the dead controlled by unknown existences, and a new life and death battle is about to begin. At this time, all the information of the entire immortal fortress, even the information of each fire seed, appeared in Lin Yi's mind. We need to save the immortal fortress and resist the attacks of the resurrectors launched by the crowners. We must find out the real reason for the fall of the immortal fortress. According to the current data, the fall of the 8 immortal fortresses should be due to internal reasons. In other words, there is a high probability that there is a problem with the fire seed, and there are spies hidden in it. Secondly, the immortal fortress is mainly composed of 3 parts: core power, spirit pattern weapon system, and core control system. If there is a problem in any of these 3 systems, it will cause the operation of the immortal fortress to fail, and it is not impossible that it will fall due to external invasion. But I can think of this, as the original lord of the 9th fortress, can't he think of it? He should have made countless preparations long ago. Every fire seed should have been investigated countless times, but still no possible spies have been found. There must be some blind spots here, which they have deducted. Lin Yi is in a huge tower, and the top of the tower is a sky palace, which overlooks the entire city. He sat in the center of the palace. In front of him was a huge illusory light screen, showing countless detailed pictures. A huge city was in the center of this picture, and figures appeared one after another from all directions. They were all revivers who woke up from death, and they were expressionless, like zombies, coming towards them. According to the scene in the illusory picture, they would arrive at the immortal fortress in at most 1 hour. In other words, the problem of the immortal fortress will occur within this hour. If there are spies, it will also break out at that time. Then now, conduct another full inspection. Maybe we can find some clues. Thinking of this, he immediately issued an order as the city lord. His consciousness was connected to the core control system, and the spirit pattern system of the entire immortal fortress was immediately under his control. Lin Yi looked solemn and waited for the inspection results. All inspections were carried out through the spirit pattern system, without the participation of anyone. His consciousness expanded infinitely and quickly enveloped everyone in the entire immortal fortress. These people are called fire seeds, which means the flame of hope. They all looked nervous, and were at their own work positions, ready to contribute to the immortal fortress at any time. Each of them was filled with a determined spirit, and they could not be spies at all. Lin Yi's consciousness mobilized the part of the immortal fortress's spiritual pattern system responsible for investigation. His spiritual thoughts were infinitely expanding, and everyone in the immortal fortress was clearly seen in front of him. From inside to outside, no place was spared, but still no trace of any unknown existence was found. The immortal fortress seemed to be shrouded in a huge mysterious fluctuation. This was a fluctuation supported by the entire spiritual pattern system, just like an absolute domain, isolating all external influences. And this influence also blocked the unknown fluctuation in everyone's body, firmly locked all true fates, and let the consciousness in the true fate regain freedom. Lin Yi narrowed his eyes slightly, revealing a trace of thought. Everyone is in control of themselves. Logically, they can't have any problems as long as the entire spirit pattern system is fine. But why did the indestructible fortress have problems internally? There must be a reason I haven't noticed yet. Thinking of this, the construction of the entire immortal fortress emerged in his mind again. The three most important core parts are under his control, and countless construction information appeared in his mind. The army of the outer death border is getting closer and closer, and a suffocating silence shrouds the entire fortress. Everyone flashed a trace of fear in their hearts. Lin Yi naturally felt this imminent pressure. His mind was constantly running rapidly, searching the immortal fortress every moment. All fires are his targets, and any behavior of anyone will be magnified countless times by him and analyzed in various ways. At the same time, the three cores of the immortal fortress were all being quickly retrieved by him. At this time, his eyes have fallen on the energy core of the immortal fortress. He found that the energy core of the immortal fortress is composed of two parts. One part is the fire in the fortress. Their true power can be absorbed into the core and transformed into unified true power through the spirit pattern. Then it is used to activate the spirit pattern system of the entire fortress, thereby reducing the mutual consumption caused by different true powers. The second part of the power comes from the deepest part of the core. The house of everything I created. Author, Yinian Luan Tianji. Chapter 1295. There were true lives flickering one after another. These true lives were filled with a strange fluctuation, which was very similar to those unknown existences. And these true lives were bound by the power of the core energy system to operate the true lives. They were neatly arranged in a mysterious compressed space and could not move. At a glance, their number reached trillions, which seemed incalculable and infinitely extended. These true lives were generating true power every moment, just like batteries, absorbed and transformed by the core energy system, and became the energy of the fortress. This cruel method shocked Lin Yi. It seems that this fire seed organization is not so kind. The core system he saw was the place where the energy system and the spirit pattern system were integrated, and there was a special control system connecting the other two systems. At this time, his eyes were shining with the brilliance of the true life solution, and he was rapidly looking for the flaws of the three major systems. Based on the current situation, the probability of problems with the fire seeds is very small. Then the problem may be in these three systems. As long as any system has problems, the entire fortress will lose its original power. Then the fortress will completely collapse, all the fire seeds will be controlled again, and resistance will become a powerless joke. The true destiny Deja kept sweeping everything in the fortress, and the zombie-like existences around were getting closer and closer. As they got closer and closer, the zombies began to undergo strange changes. Some zombies became completely illusory, their lips became bright red, their faces became pale, and their bodies became like ghosts. Some zombies were even more terrifying, with countless strange black bodies growing behind their bodies. The original bodies seemed to have become their heads, floating in the air supported by huge necks. It looked like a terrifying beast grew out from behind them. There were also resurrected people who grew strange hair all over their bodies, and their bodies became tall, changing from their original form to some kind of terrifying giant monster. The only thing that has not changed is that this huge monster still has a handsome human face, or the face of other intelligent creatures. During his careful observation, Lin Yi also found a problem. The faces of the living dead all seem to be normal creatures. No matter how their bodies change, only their faces will never change. It seems that there is some special rules or reasons. This is very strange. As these monsters approached, the war broke out. The warriors standing on the outermost wall of the fortress released one gorgeous attack after another. The brilliance of various true lives kept flashing and fell on those mutated monsters or dead people. The war entered a white-hot moment, and the battle between the true lives was extremely cruel. As long as the true life cannot restrain the other party, or its own true power is insufficient, it will be killed on the spot, and there is almost no other possibility. Extreme power brings extreme destructive power, or extreme other properties. The war was in full swing, and countless beings fell every moment. But the number of these living dead was too large, and their attacks were almost overwhelming from all directions. The entire lake fortress held up a crystal-like brilliance, relying on infinite power to firmly block these attacks. No matter what kind of power it is, it seems that it cannot penetrate this layer of crystal brilliance. The fire seeds in the immortal fortress also launched various counter-attacks, destroying one zombie monster after another in the distance. The war is going on fiercely, and the countdown to the destruction of the entire immortal fortress has begun. Lin Yi is still searching for problems and looking for possible problems. But an hour is too short. After spending half an hour, he didn't even see through the immortal fortress's 1/1000 spiritual pattern system. It is almost impossible to see the entire immortal fortress clearly within an hour. Just as he was thinking, a trace of solemnity appeared in his eyes. The living dead have come to the foot of the immortal fortress, almost fighting hand to hand with the fire seeds of the fortress. But unfortunately, no matter how hard these zombie monsters waved their power and weapons, they could not break the huge true life brilliance outside the immortal fortress. At this time, there were only 5 minutes left before the destruction of the immortal fortress. Lin Yi looked at the scene and felt more and more heavy. It is meaningless to continue to observe using the true life solution. You can only use wisdom to find it. Looking at the zombie monsters attacking outside, Lin Yi felt that there was always something wrong. His eyes wrinkled slightly, and he felt that he seemed to have thought of something, but this idea was circling in his mind and could not rush out. What's the problem? With the brilliance of the true life solution flashing in his eyes, he set his sights on the attackers outside. Penetrating their surface, looking at their essence, the position of the true life, waves of unknown fluctuations were flashing. This wave manipulated these zombies, exerting their true life power to the fullest, perfect to surpass the creators of these true lives. Looking at these zombies, Lin Yi suddenly had an idea in his mind. No, it's absolutely wrong. Their behavior is too consistent, and they are all controlled by the same existence. That is to say, the trillions of true lives in the core system, with those unknown fluctuations flashing on them, all come from a certain existence. Are these fluctuations really harmless? Just a kind of thought fluctuation. Thinking of this, his heart trembled slightly, and he realized where the real flaw of the immortal fortress was. Immediately issued the final order. Start the final purification system. This weapon is the most powerful weapon of the immortal fortress. Its power does not lie in destruction, but in eliminating the unknown fluctuations permeating all the living dead for a period of time, allowing them to temporarily free themselves from the state of being controlled. Those who have been released from the state of control can enter the immortal fortress during this period of time and become one of them. In the past, relying on this trick, the fortress successfully resolved many attacks by the living dead and increased the number of its own members. In the end, the siege of the living dead army was caused by the decline of this and failed several times. A terrifying brilliance gathered in the fortress, and the spirit pattern system began to operate rapidly, and an extremely mysterious true life force was slowly generated. Lin Yi's voice and will echoed, "Final purification system, target the energy system of the immortal fortress." You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The House of Everything I Created. Author, Yinian Luan Tianji. Chapter 1296. The entire immortal fortress was under his control, and so was the final purification system. Without any obstruction, the final purification light fell into the core space of the energy system, and the vast and endless power of the true destiny spread like waves to the entire space. Countless true destinies were cleansed in an instant, and the unknown fluctuations covering them all disappeared in an instant. But at this moment, the unknown fluctuations on countless true destinies in the energy system suddenly gathered and turned into a dark body. It was a strange existence with an extremely huge body, like a round sphere, with countless tentacles all around, and a huge mouth in the middle of the circle. But this was not the main body. Just above this huge sphere, there appeared a human body with an upper body. It was a man, with black muscles and skin covering his whole body, a handsome face, long black hair spreading down from his head, and a mysterious illusory crown on his head. This crown was mysterious and unpredictable. Lin Yi could only see a vague outline and could not see its true essence at all. The eyes of this mysterious being flashed with an extremely cold air, and he looked at Lin Yi's position with a cold gaze. A will descended into Lin Yi's heart. Interesting free soul, I remember you, are you from the future? Really interesting. Lin Yi took a deep breath, and a trace of solemnity appeared in his eyes. A tremor from the true destiny appeared in his heart, which was an instinctive fear. The infinite light engulfed the entire energy core system, including this mysterious existence, which also quickly disintegrated under this infinite light. The true destiny in the core system, after losing the wave cover of the unknown existence, a more powerful true power surged out, and a huge final purification light exploded. Everything within a radius of tens of thousands of kilometers was covered, and all the living dead changed in an instant. They, who had originally turned into monsters, were shattered in an instant, leaving only one original body after another, with a trace of confusion in their eyes. At this moment, the whole world seemed to be frozen, and all the pictures disappeared in the next moment. Lin Yi suddenly came back to his senses, and he was still standing in front of the mysterious stone statue. A piece of information appeared in his mind. Congratulations, Savior, you have found the reason for the destruction of the immortal fortress and made up for the unwillingness of the deceased. You will receive the last gift of the immortal fortress, the title Savior. This is the pinnacle of the true destiny spiritual pattern system. It connects everything. When you use the title, you will have a moment. You can enhance any true destiny and exert its unlimited power. Everything in the universe, infinite time and space, everything will help you in a moment. Helping you is to save everything. This is an eternal contract with everything. At this time, Lin Yi felt that he had a connection with countless beings in the dark. A mysterious thing existed in his mind. Like the system, it could not be seen or touched, but only its existence could be felt. All the information about the title of Savior flashed through Lin Yi's mind and he took a deep breath. This is equivalent to having a true infinite true destiny in an instant. At this moment, the voice of the final order system slowly sounded. This information collection is complete, the crown information is recorded, and you are about to obtain the item made based on this information, redemption. This item can select any life and liberate the other party from the slavery of unknown forces. As long as the liberated life does not die again, it will not be enslaved by unknown existence. A cube-shaped object appeared in Lin Yi's mind, covered with countless spiritual patterns. Seeing this information, Lin Yi breathed a sigh of relief. This thing can be used on others, or on himself. If you are accidentally enslaved by death in the future, there is at least one chance to be freed. Suddenly, footsteps were heard all around. Lin Yi frowned, and Zhenming Wujiang slowly flashed and hid in the statue in one step. At this time, he suddenly realized something. In his memory, all kinds of detailed data and information about the immortal fortress have completely disappeared. Only some general impressions and memories are left, and Lin Yi's face sank slightly. This really doesn't give me any chance at all. Originally, he wanted to use the various spiritual pattern information obtained from the strange trial in the immortal fortress to deduce the infinite true destiny, but he didn't expect this to happen, which directly broke his plan. At this time, a team came outside the palace. Lin Yi's eyes were fixed on this team. Each of them mastered 6 different spiritual pattern tools, and with their own true destiny, each of them could use 7 to 10 different true destiny powers. These people have almost no shortcomings, and their fighting methods are also diverse. Lin Yi doesn't want to confront them head-on. He can also see that the upper limit of these people's true destiny is also very high. There are 2 ways to increase the upper limit of true destiny. One is to constantly practice self-cultivation and constantly operate the power of true destiny, so that the upper limit of true destiny is stimulated and constantly rises. This is a kind of ink and wash kung fu, which takes a long time. The second is through external forces, such as the mysterious brilliance produced by Lin Yi's capture of the weird essence and solving the strange incident on Blue Star in the past. Or in the eternal battlefield that appeared in this mysterious death border, by killing those monsters, you can obtain the mysterious brilliance essence left by them. Or like those worlds outside the gate of truth, constantly plunder the soul, absorb and refine them into your own true power. These can increase the upper limit of the true power, making it stronger. And the team in front of them, their true destiny upper limit generally reached the state before Lin Yi condensed the final order system. This size is already very powerful, and each one is not inferior to Lin Yi. After these people came in, they began to scan skillfully. One of them urged a spiritual pattern device, and a mysterious true destiny power swept across the palace. Under the fluctuation of this true destiny power, everything will be revealed. Some wonderful brilliance and spiritual patterns flashed on the statues in the palace, all of which appeared under the action of this true destiny power. However, at this time, these spiritual patterns and brilliance have been extremely dim, as if they will disappear at any time. Lin Yi was shrouded in the power of true destiny boundless and true destiny perseverance, hiding his existence. Even this wonderful search power could not reveal him. After the 3 members of the team confirmed that there was no danger in the hall, they all came to the statue and began to investigate the statue. The House of Everything I Created. Author, Yinian Luan Tianji. Chapter 1297. Facing the search of these people, Lin Yi dodged underground and quickly moved away from here. He did not want to bump into these people. The moment he entered the ground, he saw a dozen black shadows suddenly appearing in the surroundings and chasing him at high speed. Lin Yi quickly disappeared into the distance like a fish swimming away, avoiding these shadows. But these shadows seemed to have the power to jump in time and space, and could move freely in the soil, constantly shortening the distance between them and Lin Yi. Lin Yi returned to the ground in a flash, avoiding them again and staying away from the temple. Based on his memory, he could still determine the general information about this immortal fortress. That temple is the control center of the entire eternal fortress, and the idol is the core system of the control center. However, with the end of the mysterious trial, this core system has completely lost its function. Lin Yi's next target is the energy core system. He has not forgotten that there seems to be trillions of true lives there, and if he can get them, he might get some benefits. His figure was like a stream of light, passing through passages or corridors one after another, quickly approaching the core of this area. Although most of this place has been broken, dangers are everywhere. The origin of these dangers is unknown. They seem to have evolved over countless years, or they may have been left behind after something happened during the destruction. However, Lin Yi didn't know the specific situation, and he didn't have much memory about the Eternal Fortress. I'm not sure what happened after the destruction of the Eternal Fortress, so be careful next time. Hope everything goes well. Lin Yi's figure quickly approached the energy core system. At this time, he had arrived at a huge crossroads. Originally this was supposed to be a closed corridor, but now the dome has completely disappeared. It was as if it had been directly wiped away by some terrible force. Lin Yi stopped when he arrived at the intersection. A statue appeared in front of him. This statue is only 3 meters tall. It is wearing armor all over its body and has spiritual patterns all over its body. It exudes an inexplicable pressure. This is the fighting puppet in the Eternal Fortress. This kind of puppet is a humanoid existence composed of spiritual patterns. The internal superintelligent system composed of spiritual patterns has powerful and rich combat experience. Its original energy comes from the energy core of the Eternal Fortress. However, now that the energy core system has stopped operating, it is still unclear whether the puppet can move. At this time, Lin Yi's eyes were shining with the light of his true destiny, and he couldn't help but frown slightly. Because there is still a powerful true power in this puppet's body, but this power is blocked in the energy device in the body and has not exploded. After all these years, the true power can still be stored in the spirit pattern system? This is really amazing. The Eternal Fortress, the fire organization's technology is really powerful, a bit beyond expectations. This is turning spiritual patterns into the most basic rune system of the entire civilization. I really want to find out how to simplify the eternal nature into spiritual text. Lin Yi has not forgotten that he has countless eternal properties in his hands. As long as he can convert all this information into spiritual patterns, he can use these spiritual patterns to build a civilization. Rebuilding a complete Tinder organization is not difficult. But unfortunately, he vaguely remembered that he could not find this information in the Eternal Fortress. Although he no longer remembers the spiritual patterns possessed by the Eternal Fortress itself, he knows that he just forgot. But he had never received any information about the transformation of eternal nature into spiritual patterns. It was not that he had forgotten it. Facing this powerful fighting puppet, Lin Yi was eager to give it a try and took one step forward. In a flash, he was in front of the puppet, raised his hand and slapped the opponent's chest. The next moment, his attack activated the fighting puppet, and violent true power spurted out from it. The puppet opened his eyes, and 2 sword lights shot out from his eyes. The moment he saw the sword light, Lin Yi felt a terrifying power that could kill the soul. And it seems that this kind of sword light cannot be avoided, and he has already been hit by the sword when he sees it. The blow penetrated his mental will and heart, but he spent about 5% of his true life and perseverance to block the blow. Lin Yi's heart skipped a beat. This is a bit expensive. At this time, his hand had passed through the puppet's body silently and reached his energy core. The source of true life was activated, and the true power at the core solidified in an instant, turning into a crystal. The puppet's body shook and immediately lost its movement. Lin Yi raised his hand and waved, and the power of the true source of life enveloped the entire puppet in an instant. In an instant, the puppet became a spiritual state. This thing was directly put into the everything house. It has many spiritual patterns on it, and it is also a good thing to use for research. The puppet was just an interlude encountered on the road, and Lin Yi quickly passed through this passage. After traveling at high speed for about a few minutes, he came to a huge gate. This gate is 10 meters high and 3 meters wide. There are countless spiritual patterns on the gate, forming a complex pattern of spiritual patterns. Even though countless years have passed, the spiritual patterns on it still exist. At this moment, he also discovered a problem. There was a gap in the middle of the door, just enough for one person to enter. Seeing this scene, Lin Yi's heart sank slightly. It seems that someone has been here. There is probably nothing left of the true life inside. Lin Yi walked in a few steps and saw an empty hall. The area of the hall is only about a few thousand square meters, which is completely different from what he saw in the Immortal Fortress. He swept his eyes across the walls, ceiling, and floor of the hall. The dense spiritual patterns there had been completely destroyed, and the compressed time and space disappeared. It seems that the most valuable thing is the title of savior, and everything else has been emptied. Slightly disappointed, Lin Yi turned around and left here. He was very clear about the structure of the immortal fortress, and there were only a few that were useful to him. Now there was no benefit. He planned to go back and observe those mysterious explorers. When he returned to the location of the group of people, there were only 70 people left in the range covered by the handkerchief light curtain. At this time, Lin Yi turned into a grain of dust and appeared in the group of people. At this moment, the leader's face changed, as if he had discovered some danger, and he shouted, "Everyone gather, we're leaving now." Everyone heard this, without changing their expression, and quickly approached him. A teleportation array had been set up on the ground at some point. The House of Everything I Created. Author, Yinian Luan Tianji. Chapter 1298. The moment everyone stepped onto the teleportation array, the majestic true power surged out from under their feet and enveloped everyone instantly. Lin Yi also entered it, looking left and right, as if looking for the source of danger. The sky suddenly became dark, and a huge black hand slowly appeared, covering the sky and the sun, and swept towards the people on the ground. This horrific scene frightened everyone's expressions. The leader yelled violently, "Let's go!" An inexplicable distortion and light flashed, and everyone disappeared. The huge palm also hit the ground at this time. Silently, the entire ground disappeared, and a huge pit appeared. The huge black palm slowly disappeared, and a mysterious voice sounded. "They run pretty fast. Why can't these rats be killed?" The cold words contained no emotion, as cold as a robot. Accompanied by a twisted teleportation, when they appeared again, they had arrived at a cave. As soon as they appeared, the leader put away the teleportation array on the ground, and rushed towards the caves in all directions one by one. Lin Yi was slightly startled when he saw their skillful movements, and then chose a direction to catch up. That was the direction the leader of the team left. Lin Yi had changed into his original figure, walking on the rock wall of the cave, following the opponent closely. The moment they left, the coffin in the cave suddenly opened, and a figure stood up from it. His eyes shone with a wonderful light, and he seemed to be able to see many things. Huh? Running so fast. This man was a gloomy-looking man, who looked about 30 years old. He was wearing a black suit and had an evil aura about him. Unfortunately, this body is not good at tracking. Forget it, leave it to someone else, probably a mouse from a special time and space. I don't know why the crowns tolerate their existence. After saying that, he turned around and lay back in the coffin, seeming to have left. No one knew what was happening behind them, but everyone ran very fast. Lin Yi kept his eye on the leader of this organization, and he had a hunch that he might be able to get some information from this person. Maybe we can figure out what this death boundary is all about. After passing through countless caves and passages, the man suddenly stopped and stood in front of a cave entrance. Lin Yi also stopped after him, looking at him from a distance with a trace of doubt on his face. The cave looked no different. There were no guards and it was empty inside. The man took out a card in his hand. He seemed to input the true power, and then a faint fluctuation filled the card. The entrance to the cave in front of him slowly changed, and a black door appeared somewhere. The man walked in one step, and Lin Yi immediately accelerated and rushed over. The reason why he rushed so fast was because in his eyes, he saw normal time and space on the other side of the black door. Lin Yi rushed out of the door and fell to the ground in a flash. The mysterious leader suddenly turned his head and looked behind him. He frowned. He clearly felt that something was approaching him, but when he looked back, there was nothing. After thinking about it, he turned around and continued walking forward, and the mysterious door behind him closed instantly. At this time, Lin Yi looked from the ground towards the direction he came from, with a hint of surprise in his eyes. The direction they came from was completely dark, and they couldn't see anything inside at all. But at the edge of the darkness, there was a black stone monument. This stone tablet seems to have a mysterious power, isolating this time and space from the darkness on the other side. Lin Yi's eyes shone with the brilliance of the true destiny. He could clearly see that this space-time had clear space-time rules, was clean and safe, did not have any unknown forces, and also had air. It seems that this is no longer the border of death. The voice of the final order system rang in his ears. Bound ones, please note that you are out of the scope of the death boundary. Entering another unknown time and space. Hearing this, Lin Yi frowned slightly and turned his head to look at the other side. He frowned slightly. There seemed to be a plane in the distance. Farther across the plane, darkness also shrouded the sky. His eyes flickered slightly, and he already had a rough idea. This is an independent area, but it is surrounded by the border of death. Being in a strange state is like carving out a piece of pure land in a land full of crises. Lin Yi looked at this pure land on the edge of death, with a strange look in his eyes. Immediately afterwards, he followed the person advancing in front, and he wanted to see where this person wanted to go. He has been walking underground without revealing any trace of himself. The ground here is also very safe, and there is nothing dangerous seen. Soon he came to a walled city. The man just now had arrived at the city gate. He showed a card and was inspected before the city gate was opened and let in. Throughout the entire process, he was shrouded in a powerful glow of true destiny. Lin Yi immediately saw where this brilliance came from. They are all made of spiritual patterns and cover the entire city wall. Even the process of passing through the city gate will be locked by this force. Any question seemed to cause a strong counterattack. Lin Yi's eyes flashed with the light of the true destiny solution, and he immediately found that this power was extremely powerful, and ordinary true destiny could not avoid its scan. He calculated a little bit, even if he pushed all his true power with all his strength, he could not let the true destiny perseverance and true destiny boundless enter without alarming anyone. This is definitely a safe zone, I need to know the situation inside. The death border is too dangerous, and it is full of unpredictable events everywhere. We must find a way to get in and figure out more things before we can plan the next path. Thinking of this, he came to the city wall quietly and silently, which was also under the protection of the true destiny power. A barrier of true destiny power blocked all the ways in. Lin Yi took a deep breath, and a trace of solemnity appeared in his eyes. Then, a mysterious power in his heart was slowly released. Title, Savior, loading. The next moment, Lin Yi realized the effect of this power, which can instantly increase any power to an infinite level. True destiny and perseverance, true name and boundlessness, also reached their peak in an instant, rising infinitely, growing madly, seemingly without end. At this moment, Lin Yi felt that he could reach anywhere. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The House of Everything I Created. Author, Yinian Luan Tianji. Chapter 1299. The next moment, he took a step forward and directly passed through the barrier of the true life light formed by the spiritual pattern. This extremely powerful barrier did not cause any obstruction to him. He directly ignored all the influences and entered the city. Taiwan Novel Network rightward arrow dot. The place where he appeared was a dark corner. After coming here, he waited quietly. The title of Savior, after using it, the power also disappeared quickly. Lin Yi could clearly feel that it was impossible to use this power again within 24 hours. This title is in a cooling state. Silently feeling and savoring the power of this power, a trace of contemplation appeared on his face. Is this the title? It can allow me to gain the ability to use the power of true life unlimitedly in a few seconds. It's incredible. How powerful was the Spark organization in its heyday? But such a powerful organization was destroyed by the mastermind behind the death boundary. How powerful are those crowns? Thinking of this, he felt a huge pressure on his head and it was difficult to vent. Taking a deep breath, Lin Yi's eyes showed a trace of thought. Then let me see, what's going on here? Lin Yi's eyes flashed with the brilliance of the true destiny, and he looked around quietly. After a circle, he suddenly found that this place was not big, covering an area of only a few thousand square meters. There were some buildings full of Western style everywhere. It was more like a small town than a city. There were hotels, bars, restaurants, and residential houses in the town. There were about 2,000 or 3,000 people in his sight. They were not all human, humans only accounted for about 1/3 of them. The other 1/3 were all races of various appearances. Each of them mastered a complete set of spiritual pattern tools, and almost none of them had less than 2 true destiny. The most important thing was that Lin Yi found that these people were indeed alive, and their true destiny was not bound by that unknown power. This scene surprised him a little, so many living people who have mastered the power of true destiny. He carefully observed the situation here, and he did not intend to appear in the sight of others rashly. There are only 2,000 to 3,000 people here, and any stranger will be very conspicuous. All he can do now is to wait and observe quietly. A day passed in the blink of an eye. Lin Yi has been hiding in the shadows, carefully observing everything around him. This place looks shabby, but it is actually armed to the teeth, and there are spiritual patterns everywhere. These spiritual patterns range from 49 to 365, forming one unique true destiny effect after another. Finally, these true destiny effects are interconnected, and it seems that they can form a complete defense system that can deal with any external dangers. During the 24-hour observation, he found that there seemed to be a distinction between day and night here. It was night when he came, and in the daytime, this mysterious space would naturally light up with a mysterious glow. This glow does not know where it comes from, but it will appear in every corner, making this space very dazzling, although this glow is not strong, but very soft. In the daytime, the people in this town seemed to go back to their homes and hotels to rest, but last night, they were always vigilant. Lin Yi judged that there seemed to be some danger here at night, but it didn't appear last night. He also had a general understanding of this area, and he knew what he should do next. He returned to the city wall quietly, title Savior, loading. Along with Lin Yi's thoughts, he once again felt the infinite power filling his body. The next moment, he left the town and came to the outside of the city wall when he appeared again. When he came to the outside of the city wall, he did not appear rashly, but hid behind a hill. He needed to wait another 24 hours until the title of Savior was cooled down and he would prepare his trump card again. Time seemed to pass quickly in this space. Lin Yi just waited quietly, and his consciousness would communicate with Sakuramiya Shirley and others in the Yorozue from time to time. He had told them the situation outside without reservation, and everyone fell silent. They couldn't believe that the outside would become like this. The mysterious death boundary made everything look so weird. Lin Yi was also thinking about how to make them play their combat power, survive in this mysterious world, and even help him gain a foothold here. So far, they still haven't condensed their true destiny, which is really not a simple thing. Every existence that can condense the true destiny has spent countless time and energy to stand out from countless lives. The true pride of an era. They can live to this day, completely relying on Lin Yi. Being able to condense or even master the eternal nature is already a huge shortcut. If they want to condense the true destiny, they can only rely on themselves. However, the appearance of the spirit pattern device can allow them to master the power of the true destiny in advance. Of course, whether it works or not, they have to wait until they come back to this world and conduct experiments to know. Lin Yi deeply feels how many limitations and dangers a person has in this border of death. He needs a stable rear base and a long-term accumulation to complete the overall transformation. That night, nothing happened, and Lin Yi's title of savior cooled down again. At this time, he quietly appeared in front of the gate of the city wall. The gate of the city wall itself was tightly closed. With his appearance, the guards on the city wall also noticed his presence. The man guarding the gate was a big bearded man with blue skin, beast-like eyes, and his beard was also blue, like crystal. This was obviously a non-human race, and he looked at Lin Yi, who appeared here with some surprise. "Who are you? What are you doing here?" Lin Yi looked up at the big bearded man on the city wall and said calmly. "Hello, I am a person who accidentally broke into here. I saw there was a city here, so I came to see if I could seek shelter. Are you an outsider?" "Have you died?" the big bearded man said coldly. "I have not died, nor have I been resurrected. I am a normal life form. Not those living dead." Lin Yi used the information he knew so far to narrate some of the content. The bearded man on the city wall nodded slightly. "If you want to enter the city, you need to be inspected. Can you accept it?" Lin Yi smiled and nodded, "Of course." The bearded man nodded with satisfaction, and then the gate of the city wall slowly lit up, and a blue light appeared. The House of Everything I Created. Author, Yinian Luan Tianji. Chapter 1300. This blue light is a light door, and a blue-skinned bearded man has appeared behind the light door. He is holding a silver mirror in his hand. The mirror was pointed at Lin Yi, with a solemn expression on his face. "Don't move, this is an inspection for you." The next moment, a majestic silver light enveloped him. Lin Yi resisted the urge to dodge and did not use his true power to resist. This silvery light instantly filled his whole body and spread toward his heart. Lin Yi can feel that this power seems to be scanning his information, but it does no harm. He waited quietly, and finally, the force scanned him from top to bottom. The blue-bearded man looked at Lin Yi and nodded slightly. "You have passed the inspection and you are indeed a living person. You can go into sheltered spaces, but you have to remember that violence is not allowed in the city. Otherwise you will be expelled. You can never step foot here again. At the same time, everything here must be purchased with various materials or life fragments. As for how to earn supplies or life fragments specifically, you can go to the bar in the town and ask." Lin Yi smiled slightly and said, "Thank you very much for your information." The blue-bearded man shook his head slightly. "No need to thank me, there are fewer and fewer newcomers like you now. I hope you can live longer, we also need new blood." Lin Yi nodded slightly when he heard this. "I will work hard." After passing through the blue light door, Lin Yi entered the town. The scenery of a western town comes to mind, and all the buildings here are wooden structures. I don't know where the wood came from. It's obviously just an empty space, and the ground is nothing but dirt. Lin Yi's goal was clear and he headed directly to the only bar in this western town. Ring ring ring. As the doorbell rang, Lin Yi stepped inside, and everyone in the bar turned their eyes to him. The guests here include humans and non-humans, and their eyes have strong oppressive power, scrutinizing him. Everyone here is filled with a powerful real-life wave, and they are also hung with one spiritual weapon after another. After they looked at Lin Yi for a while, they stopped paying attention to him. In their eyes, Lin Yi was just an ordinary newcomer who didn't even have a complete set of spiritual weapons. He walked straight to the bar. Behind the bar was a man wearing a bartender uniform. There are scars on his face and he looks about 40 years old. He must have been a handsome guy when he was young, and even now, he has a unique temperament. The man looked at Lin Yi. "Would you like something to drink?" Kellen paused and said, "I want to sell something." "Okay, our trading currency here is life fragments. A fragment represents a spiritual pattern. The fragments of life have many uses. If you gather enough fragments to deduce a new true destiny, you can use these fragments to directly deduce a complete true destiny. The original consciousness in the fragments will also be dissolved in the process of this deduction and turned into the true power of the true life. Basically, the upper limit of true power possessed by this newly derived true life has reached the world-shaking level. The bartender seemed to have a lot of time and leisure, and actually explained the effects and functions of the life fragments to Lin Yi in detail. Lin Yi had a trace of confusion on his face. Is there any level to the upper limit of true power? The man smiled lightly. Of course. The power of ordinary beings who condense their true life is very limited. Basically it can only maintain a normal open state, and it will run out in a few minutes or even seconds. This level is called the primitive level, which represents the person's true power. The usage time and maximum power are very weak. With the accumulation of the upper limit of true power, the normal state of true life is opened and can even last for more than one day. This state is called the world-shaking level, which means that the power and duration of the true life have risen to a new level, and can even affect the stability of the world. As for the higher level, it is called the four-pillar heaven level. This level is even more magical. You can use the power of your true life to destroy stability at any level. Arrived at a place called the Four Pillars of Heaven. Legend has it that it is the front line and last bastion against the border of death. Of course, that was many years ago. Looking at the slightly regretful face of the bartender in front of him, Lin Yi was silent for a moment. He naturally understood the meaning of this sentence. The four-pillar heaven realm existed in the past. But now it seems to have disappeared, or it is very likely to have been swallowed up by this infinite boundary of death. The bartender's tone was full of decadence and despair. At this point, the bartender looked at him. That's basically it. What do you want to sell? Lin Yi smiled slightly, took out the hiding order and Lin Lin's sword from his arms, and placed them on the counter. The bartender looked at these two items and smiled lightly. The effects of these two items are average, but since you are a newcomer, I will give you a discount and you can exchange them for 100 life fragments. Are you willing to accept this price? Lin Yi smiled and said, okay. The bartender nodded slightly, took out a white jade-colored rectangular box from the bar, and placed it in front of Lin Yi. Each box contains 100 pieces of True Destiny fragments, which come from different True Destiny. The basic material consumption here is free, but each person is limited to one piece per day. For the part exceeding the limit, you will be charged one True Destiny fragment, which can maintain the material consumption for 1 month. Of course, this consumption cannot exceed a certain amount. If it exceeds the limit, you will need to pay the True Destiny fragment again. One True Destiny fragment can be exchanged for various materials, and your consumption here is recorded in the corresponding account book. The ratio of materials and True Destiny fragments is changing every day. Every day, someone will check everyone's account to refund or supplement. Because there is no money in this world, the processing of transactions is more troublesome. You will get used to it. Lin Yi nodded slightly. Give me an ordinary standard set meal. The bartender at the bar had a smile on his face. Okay, please wait. A few minutes later, a set meal was placed in front of Lin Yi. I don't know what kind of barbecue meat, a large plate, and a glass of unknown drink, exuding a hazy fragrance. Lin Yi brought the food to an empty seat in the bar. The bar was very large, covering an area of several hundred square meters. A large number of people were sitting in every corner, some talking loudly, and some thinking with their heads down.